All right. Something a little different than normal, I guess. I'm going back to this format where I'm just running background video, and I intend on this one, what you should be seeing is the trail in Florida that I'm trying to find a way to do live streaming from. What I did find was someone who rode a bicycle down that trail and put it on video, so I've got that video to run in the background. It's not, they didn't go very far, but it didn't make any sense to try to, write on a writing tablet, and I'm definitely not a selfie kind of guy, so, not going to put me on there either. Anyway, so, not yet, anyway, I'm not into it. However, the testimony, my witness, whatever, Christian thing you want to put on, is my story, and I tell the story and all the stories surrounding it, in person quite a bit, have over the years quite a bit, and I don't have as much of a problem. I'd rather somebody else tell it. If there's somebody else who was around when it happened, I'd rather them tell the story. But if I was the only one there and the story needed to be told, then I'd tell it. But these are very, very personal, very near and dear to me. At the same time, I know that the stories these testimonies, I wouldn't have believed myself. So it's just a little strange putting them up here on YouTube. So after having said that, I also always have a hard time starting any of the videos without some kind of preamble about how I considered an atheist who experienced a miracle in the name of Jesus. And then a whole bunch of atheists just clicked off, and a whole bunch of Christians just click off, when they hear that. But that's where it started. I didn't come into this by faith. I came into it with evidence. Same way a whole bunch of people, as far as I can tell, all the ones that were following him, according to the text, witnessed a miracle or were part of a miracle. And that's what gave them the nerve to take off, leave home, and follow Jesus. Pull up stakes and follow him. Be willing to follow him every day. At least 12 of them that we know of. So that's the way it worked for me. I didn't want to have anything to do with anything. I wasn't looking for anything. I was just in pain. And after the miracle, I wasn't. And ever since then, I've been wanting to follow him around. Follow the one who knows how to do that. And have, at times, been able to do so. And I'm a student, I'm always going to go for I'm a student. I'm slow, okay? I know I'm slow. But I have experienced miracles for years now, over and over and over. So, and I probably have quite a few testimonies or stories. I tried to pick one for today, just to get this thing started, just to see how this works. That happened in Fernandina Beach, Florida. And I'm not exactly sure what year it was. I'm going to guess that it was probably 2006, maybe, around in there. Anyway, that's irrelevant, really, but it's been a while since this happened. And I was at Fernandina Beach, living on the beach in an RV. That was my leaving everything at the time, but that's what I did. And anyway, over the course of things, one of the things that happened while I was there was I ran into a guy who owned a dive shop and museum, pirate museum or whatever there is. He had pirate stuff. He found a shipwreck and he had some of the coins and the balloons or whatever. It was cool, a little dive shop, it was a convenience store. You could get a soda, a bag of chips. And I don't know, I got in a conversation with this guy. And he was all excited because I mentioned Jesus. He got all turned on. He said, "Oh, I just got saved and I'm, born again." And oh, wow, cool. I mean, it's awesome. Somebody first meets Jesus, right? Or has an encounter with him in whatever way, really. Unfortunately, usually it happens in the church environment and you're sucked up into that environment pretty quick. And this guy, after we talked for a while, he was excited, and I was getting ready to go, and he said, "I got to go too. I got an appointment with the dentist. I got this terrible abscess." Pretty much as soon as he said that, I thought Jesus told me to touch his cheek with the back of my right hand. Just touch it. And so I asked permission. I asked the guy. I said, "Do you mind if I said, I usually don't do this. I'm not really big on touching men's cheeks, but do you mind if I touched your cheek?" And he said, "No, go ahead." So I did. I touched it, and then we said goodbye. Well, he had already invited me to come to what he called a sunrise service there at this dive shop. He lived on the top floor. It was 2 stories, and the top floor was mostly decking. And the reason he built a deck up there because it was awesome to sit out there and look out on the ocean. It's nice. So he had hooked up with a church of some sort. I'm not going to try to remember what it was, kind of church it was. But they were some guy from that church, who I'm going to call, I don't know if you can hear that jet flying over. That's pretty wild. But, wow. But this guy was kind of one of those guys who wanted to be a pastor. And he was having this, what they call sunrise service, at 5 o'clock in the morning. They sit out there. I didn't know. He invited me, and I immediately said, no, I don't want to do that. I could tell right away it had serious religious overtones, and I wasn't really interested. But he was such a cool guy, and he was so in love with Jesus, and he looked so disappointed. I said, "Listen, I'll pray. I'll ask." Thinking the whole time. Anyway, so I'm leaving now. I'm leaving his house after I promised him I would ask, about it. For one thing, I didn't usually get up until, in those days, I was 8 o'clock, was early for me. But, so, I'm thinking, no way, there's no way. I'm going to get up in the morning and go do a religious function, no matter how cool it sounds. The beach part of it sounded really cool. But, I did. I asked Papa. I said, "Okay," I told him I would ask you, he said, "Yeah, go." I said, "No, wait a minute. I don't really want to go, you know that, right?" But, so here's the deal. If you can get me up in time to get there in the morning, then I'll go. All right? Because it seemed like he wanted me to go, but that's me. I'm always trying to work out something with him because I really didn't want to. Rarely would that have turned out to be a good thing. And anyway, so here, 4 a.m. I didn't set any alarms. I wake up at 4 a.m. bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and cannot close my eyes really to go back to sleep. I almost immediately, when I was awake, when I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning, I remembered the sunrise service invitation and the deal that I had made the night before with Papa. So I made coffee, and I drove up there to his dive shop. But the whole time I was saying, man, I'm just going to be quiet and just stay back out of the way, not do anything. So we get up there, and the guy's got Christian music playing on a boom box, and as the sun's coming up, and they just said prayers and stuff. I don't know, but there was definitely a guy who was in charge, and that was the one that the owner had told me about. And he tells their books out. Of course, I didn't have a workbook. I'm not really into workbooks, so I'm kind of odd man out already. And yeah, it was that was interesting, and the way he was teaching it was absolutely not right, from what I had gathered. But I didn't say anything. I just sat there. Okay, I was just drinking my coffee. I brought my coffee with me, and I was kicked back, and I just sat there, and I was enjoying the sunrise and the beach, and I was listening, but I just wasn't, doing anything. I was just sitting there, like I said I was going to. So anyway, he wraps it up, and, about half hour, 45, I don't know, an hour maybe. I don't know how long we were there, how long it went on. But at the end of it, he says, okay, does anyone have any questions? And I didn't really have any questions until I heard Papa, Again, I wouldn't have believed this either if I was you or somebody else. But I thought I heard him say, I need you to ask him a question for me. And I went, oh, no. Ask him yourself, why you need me. Anyway, he said, I want you to ask him if I asked him to stay another 15 minutes, would he do it? And that's one of the easiest things I think I've ever been asked to say by him, because I'm thinking, that's easy. All he'll do is, just to impress everyone there, he'll just say, oh, of course, if the Lord, something like that. That's what I thought. Oh, okay. So I raised my hand, and he said, okay. He said, yeah. And I told the guy, I asked him the question. If the Lord asked you to stay for another 15 minutes, would you? And heck, I'm picking my stuff up, getting ready to leave, because I think it's going to be over with here real quick. But that dude, who had kept his composure, his religious composure, the entire time we were up there, lost his cool. And he said, how dare you? What is wrong with you? Why would you ask me such a thing? The Lord would never ask me to stay another 15 minutes, because he knows that would make me late for the job he got me. He got me this job that I have, and I'm, by gosh, not going to get in trouble at my job. So, wow. Okay, now I'm like, what the heck? So I get up, and everybody else is already starting to leave. They kind of, they were paying attention to this guy flipping out, so it kind of, everybody stopped getting ready to leave. But, I'm trying to get down, so I'm coming this, two stories of steps to get off of this decking back onto the ground. I'm going down the steps, and this guy's coming behind me. How dare you? What is wrong with you? I don't believe that you are of a right spirit. And I stopped at the bottom of the steps when he said that. And at first, I'm human. I was a little bit offended that he said that, but I wasn't going to argue with him. But instead, this feeling, I don't know how to explain it exactly, except It's like I heard Jesus saying, now you know how it felt from me. And when he said that, I was fine. Everything went well. Matter of fact, I was just overjoyed inside. I don't remember what I told that guy. Something like, dude, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend you. Something like that. He's still going on and on, yammering on and on, but I feel so good now. Because I know I'm in the right exact... When you know you're in the right place at the right time, saying the right thing, doing the right thing, it feels good. And I had that feeling come over me right then. And, yeah. Like I said, I expected the guy to blow it off. You know, most religious guys are going to make up, even if it's not true. They want everyone to think it is. Why, I'm a servant of God, and if he asks me, I'll do anything he asks. Amen. Right? But no, this guy can't conclude. You know, he was, and he did say something about how he was going to be a pastor someday, and then, you know, he would be able to dedicate. I don't care. But definitely hit a sore spot, right? Definitely hit a sore spot. And everybody else there saw it. Oh, I forgot to tell you. When I showed up that morning, the first thing that the guy who owned the place told me was that the abscess was gone before he ever got to the dentist, and the dentist didn't even have to do anything for him. And in essence, he was telling me he was healed. Which, you know, I don't know how to do that. All I knew how to do was, you know, touch his cheek. I wasn't sure that's what it was for, to tell you the truth. I was hoping, you know. I didn't feel anything. Nothing seemed to happen when I touched his cheek. So now he's at the end of all this, that guy who owned the place was apologizing to me. Because he couldn't understand why his pseudo-pastor, you know, head of the studies, or I don't know what they were calling it, Bible study, he had workbooks and everything, right? Why he acted like that. And so I tried to tell the guy then, I said, listen, man, maybe church isn't really where you need to be. I'm not going to say one way or another, but it seemed like everything that guy was teaching that day was out of whack. And I just didn't want this guy, because he was so fired up, man. He really had a thing for Jesus, I could tell. But anyway, so there you go. And that's one of the reasons I always tell people, not always, but if you catch me in the right mood on the right day, I'm going to say, if Jesus approaches you and asks you to follow him, run. Turn around and run in the other direction. Because it really is like he said. I mean, it sounds extreme, but it says, the way they translate it was, all men will hate you. You know, and I think I've explained this before. The atheists don't like me talking about Jesus. And the Christians don't like me talking about him, because I don't represent him in the proper manner, whatever, blah, blah, ha, ha. But yeah, Jesus was having some kind of every time he say something about God, you know, obviously the Romans didn't want to listen to it. They weren't Jewish. And obviously, of course, you never hear the Romans say that much about it, but you definitely hear what the religious men have to tell him. Why, you hang out with sinners and drunks and prostitutes, and you break the Sabbath, and you teach your disciples to break God's laws. So they didn't want to hear him talking about God either. Anyway, I hope it's turned out all right. There's a phone call. So, peace and safety until next time. Later.